You're listening to the Productive Therapist Podcast, the world's greatest and most brilliant resource for busy therapists who'd rather be laying on a beach in Hawaii. Every week we share helpful tips on where to put what, how to do this, that, and the other, and the best way to get your ducks in a row. And now here's your host, licensed therapist, head nerd, and productivity Yoda, Uriah Guilford.
Hello and welcome back to the Productive Therapist Podcast. So glad that you're here. Today I had the privilege to talk to my good friend Katie Reed. If you don't know her already, she's an amazing human who helps the helping professionals step into their biggest lives so they can serve in the biggest ways. She's been a marriage and family therapist forever, directed large agencies, taught grad school, supervised 40 plus interns, written psych training materials, spoken at conferences, and had practices in various cities. She's also the creator of the Clinician to Coach Academy, the Clinic Coach certification, and the six-figure flagship program. Pretty cool. Last but definitely not least, she is a special needs mom, a rescue dog mom, an eager but terrible karaoke singer, and an interior designer wannabe. So please enjoy my conversation with Katie Reed on why therapists need to start living bigger lives to actually be even better helpers. Katie, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I always love talking to you. It's so much fun.
I know. We've been chatting here for like 20 minutes now. We're like, oh, wait, we should record
Maybe
something.
we should record this. Yeah. I feel like we could just hit the roulette wheel of like topics and be like, okay,
we could.
Today.
And we could just go, right? We have that. I love that.
Today we're talking about lifestyle design for therapists.
Let's do it.
So the topic we did land on is that you gave me actually, and I love, is why therapists need to start living bigger lives to actually be even better helpers. That's really a cool concept. So I'm kind of curious. I have some ideas too, but I'm curious from your perspective, what does it even mean to live a bigger life?
Yes, thank you so much. So I've been thinking about this a lot, and I gave a speech recently at a conference out in Costa Rica, Megan Gunnell's event in Costa Rica. And when I was writing that talk, I was doing a ton of reflecting on just, my life over time and how it's evolved in the helping professions. And the example that was coming to mind for me, I was thinking about how when I was younger, I was made a program director very early in my career, like right after I got licensed. They were like, can you please take over this program that I was a social worker in up until that point? And I did. And so I had these sort of younger years of being a program director and still seeing tons of clients, obviously at that time, the way you do in agencies where you kind of wear all the hats. And I was thinking about how I was charged with treating all of these families where the kids had severe behavioral issues. And we would come in with evidence-based practices. And I would have to be the one to go learn the evidence-based practice, bring it back to the staff, make sure it was all being practiced with high fidelity, doing high fidelity myself. And I remember so clearly sitting with these parents and saying things like, every time Johnny has a tantrum, like this is the exact sequence of behavioral interventions that we need to follow. And this is going to extinguish that behavior and blah, blah, blah. And these parents would look at me and be like, well, it's just not going to happen. Like, there is no way that every single time we're going to have this perfect thing. And I remember being young and not being a parent yet myself and being frustrated, like, what's wrong? Like, if they would just follow the manual, everything would get better and they would get this outcome that they want. And it was so funny because then flash forward several years. And I remember having children, and in particular, having my second child. And you're suddenly in it where that despite no matter what you say, the next time he tantrums, I'm going to do this behavioral intervention. And then you've been up all night with the crying baby. And suddenly the 3-year-old is there and he's throwing a tantrum because he's hungry. And there you have nothing left to give. And I remember quite literally sitting there when I was in that situation with like a baby and a toddler and just thinking I would be such a better therapist now for those parents, because my degree of just personal development and empathy for the situation and understanding of the realities that despite any best efforts you have, you can't do this perfectly every time, especially when you are this stressed out parent, and realizing that what that took for me was simply growth and life experience that would have made me a much better therapist than I had been when I was doing these things when I was younger. And I had all the best intentions, but I just didn't have that personal growth and that life experience. Lived experience. And I truly believe the same can be said for all areas of our lives. And you might have seen those memes that got really popular during COVID, where it's like the miserable, bedraggled therapist sitting behind the Zoom screen. And it's like, I'm signing on to help my clients live happy, exciting, fulfilling, interesting lives.
Oh my goodness.
And here we are coming from this place where we're like, I'm barely crawling over to my Zoom screen to make the session happen. And I truly was really thinking about this as I was putting together this talk and realizing, yes, if we want to lead our clients to whatever their next level is, whatever that looks like for them in terms of their happier, more successful, more fulfilled and abundant life, if we're not living any of that ourselves, we truly can't do it. It's the difference between helping to pull someone up the mountain and like standing on the ground and pushing their butt and hoping they get up there somehow. There's a big difference in how much you're able to help someone. And so it really made me think about how much that has changed for me, how me being in a completely different place than I was as a therapist 15, 20 years ago, just emotionally and in terms of lived experience, that being in that completely different place actually makes me a much better person to be able to help, because I can look and say, hey, I know exactly where you are because I've been there. I know what that feels like. I know what that experience is like. And I want to help you see what it's like up here on this next plateau where I'm standing too. And I can help pull you up there. And so that is really the impetus of me suggesting this talk for us today.
No, I love that. Yeah. And there's something so vastly different about embodying an experience versus like following a treatment manual or a treatment plan or something like that for any aspect of life. And, I was thinking about, as you were talking there, thinking about a couple of things. Certainly me being the parent of two teenage girls now, if I was to unretire from being a therapist, I would be a vastly better teen and family therapist. Now, because my advice would be, just more realistic and useful. It just would be better for sure. Yeah. So I guess what I'm hearing you saying is that if you as a therapist are thriving and living your best life and having adventure and exploration, whatever that looks like, then you are just going to show up in the room with your clients in a much more fully alive way.
Yes.
You didn't use that word, but
no, I love that word though.
That's what's going to happen. And then that will, I would guess, would inspire positive change and growth on the other end of the Zoom call or the room.
The room, exactly. Yeah, I feel like it's actually being able to lead from a place that you've been to. It's like, I remember, it's embarrassing to admit, but I remember I went to a grad school where mindfulness and meditation, it was certainly all the rage. I was in San Francisco. Now, I had a terrible, shabby meditation practice, but I was always telling my clients, you should meditate every day. Was I able to meditate every day? No, of course not. I knew it was a great thing that we should all be doing, but my practice was not on point in any way. Now, you think how different that would have been than if I were a sort of daily, lifelong meditator, being able to help guide someone into mindfulness from that point of view. It's very different. And I truly believe the same goes for not only the sort of self-care and the interventions that we use on ourselves regularly to be people who take care of ourselves, but also things like eliminating our financial stress. Because we're charging enough that we are not coming to sessions with financial stress constantly riding on our back. It goes for things like you said, introducing adventure and excitement into your life. I think it is very, very easy to get stuck on the good enough plane of existence where you're like, it's good enough. It's fine. Everything's fine. Nothing's necessarily great. Nothing's necessarily you truly living your biggest life. You might be one of those therapists that always has that feeling, that little something nipping at your heels that's like, could do more. You could do something different. You could expand. You could grow, but you're having that feeling and not necessarily acting on it because it's good enough. And because we're all scared and we're all human and we're all afraid of taking big leaps or making big changes or disrupting the status quo in any way. And yet, when we can embody and when we can become the people who do those things, then we're able to show our clients, look at what's possible for you, because we're speaking about it from such a different point of view.
Let me ask you this question. So when you were in Costa Rica giving that talk, and people were listening and, maybe you had conversations afterwards or questions during or after that talk, how did they respond to that message? What did you gather?
It's funny. Can I swear?
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Okay. what people responded to the most from that talk that cracked me up. I had one slide where it just said, "Your brain is an asshole," and people were cracking up at that slide because what we were really talking about is how this is actually difficult. This is the goal, and we can all listen, even to a podcast like this. People will listen to this and be like, "Wow, they're right. Katie and Uriah sure are right. I should go do those things." But then we have these asshole brains that want to keep us safe and that want to keep us kind of mired in the day-to-day. And that is the hardest part to do battle with, in a way, is that constant management of our own brain and of our own fears and of our own insecurities. And if there's one thing I've found my past couple of years of coaching therapists who are outgrowing their offices, it is that because we are highly educated, because we know more than we think we do, we tend to have vicious, crippling imposter syndrome. We tend to believe that everyone in the entire world knows just as much as we do because half the world has gotten their mental health education from TikTok. And we believe that that is probably just as much as we know. And it's simply not true. Yeah. But and it's like, as therapists, we're afraid to even speak up about what we do know, because we feel like it's nothing special. It's nothing unique. We really, really downgrade and downplay our expertise. And I just think that is one of the biggest things that holds us back. And you don't see it so much in other fields. You're not seeing doctors out there going, I don't really know much. I mean, I just do surgery on the brain. Everybody knows that.
So interesting.
Don't see that, right?
That's a very interesting observation. Yeah. I wonder what it is about our field, our industry, and us as therapists. I was thinking about like how we are trained from day one to be very law and ethics minded, follow the rules, make sure everything is by the book sort of thing. And even more so if you're doing evidence-based kind of treatment approaches. And that's, that's a mindset. That's a worldview, if you will, that maybe doesn't lend itself well to risk-taking and, I don't know, adventurous, out-of-the-box sort of things. I mean, not to say that living your biggest, best life has to be some crazy thing. I was thinking about this before our conversation. I was like, yeah, what if my best life is like organizing my garage on a Tuesday? And
honestly, though, like literally,
is that boring? Is that okay?
No, I will tell you what. My best life, when I transitioned and I moved from therapy over into coaching and consulting, do you know what my best life was? It was writing the check to pay off the freaking student loans, Uriah.
Yes.
That was like,
I'm raising my hands in the air.
Moment. It was, my husband and I both had very old cars that were continuing to have expensive repairs. It was just getting us safer cars. I drive a Kia. I didn't need a Lamborghini. I love my Kia, but it was like, that was a best life moment. It was like, I'm not afraid of my car anymore.
Thank you. Good point. Good point.
It's as simple as that, and it can be, of course, bigger things. And like you and I were saying, how we know so many people online as we're recording this who are in Europe right now, and we're seeing all these great pictures. And I am taking my family to Europe for an entire month this summer. It's insane to even say that out loud. I'm so excited about it. That is best life moment on another level for me. Ooh. But truly, when I started out, all I wanted was to bring in enough with my coaching business to pay for the groceries. That was my whole first goal, was like, could I just start this little side gig and maybe it would make enough to buy groceries for the family? And when it did, that was a best life moment. They climb up slowly from there.
Thriving looks different at different levels, if you will, or whatever you want to call that. Yeah. So where are you going in Europe, if you don't mind sharing?
Oh, I'm so excited. So my husband's family lives in England, so we're going to go visit them for 2 weeks. And then Italy has been the top of our bucket list forever. So then we're doing the next 2 weeks in Italy, traveling all the way around down the country. So
fantastic.
Super excited. Yes.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think our next trip in the works is going to be Switzerland and Northern Italy, like Lake Como kind of area.
Yes. I'm going there. We're planning on somehow finding a way to meet George and Amal Clooney while we're in Lake Como.
You have to.
We'll just bump into them on the street at one of the tourist spots, I'm guessing. No,
that's
Switzerland
so
looks insane. It looks so
it's gorgeous
there.
Yeah. I just have to figure out if we can convince my teenage daughters to,
that it's so worth it. Exactly.
Yeah, right. They're like, well, how's the Wi-Fi? Yeah.
I have a 12-year-old and we're getting to that stage. He's like, I don't leave my video game system. I'm like, oh.
So we talked about a couple examples, but maybe we can throw back and forth a few more like real world examples from our lives or from our coaching clients or people we know of therapists sort of living a bigger life and doing some interesting, fun things that to them feel like success. regardless
Absolutely.
of what anybody else thinks, right?
Yeah.
Any come to mind?
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, for our coaching clients, for my coaching clients, we have one client right now. I won't name names because I don't know if I'm allowed to on all this stuff,
Sure,
but
sure.
we have a coaching client right now who has been really active on social media, posting about her unique niche. She was approached, she's literally in talks with the television network because they want to do a show with her as the expert featuring her life and this niche that she coaches in, which is insane. Like, right? Exactly. Like, what? I was exchanging messages with her about it. And I was like, this is nuts. This is so cool. So talk about best life. Talk about when you start to put yourself out there and completely unexpected opportunities can come your way. And then we've also had clients. It's incredible, right? We've had clients get invited to speak at conferences now all around the States and all around the world in their area of expertise. We've had clients invited to contribute book chapters to various books, writing articles on larger websites. And then we've had people, honestly, where their best life, we have one client where she and her husband, her coaching practice took off so much, she decided to slowly shutter her therapy practice, which she's doing, and they're buying a boat and they're going to go live on the boat and travel the world because she can coach from anywhere. Like, how cool is that? We've had other people where it was more that they had like a family issue come up and they were able to go move to another state and take care of an ailing family member. And they could do that because they had their coaching practice launched. Like, that's a huge one, right? And it's unexpected. And that could happen to any of us anytime. There's another person, she had a really complicated intrastate adoption. And she said, if I was just a therapist, I could never have made all these trips back and forth and all the court appointments and all this stuff. But because I was coaching, I was able to do that. So it's a lot of just those things that truly deeply matter in your life, those heart moments where you're caring for another person or you're there for a family member and you're not losing all of your income while you're doing it because you've expanded and grown beyond the office.
I like all those examples. And some of those are related to the added flexibility of coaching versus therapy. So that's interesting.
That's true. That's true. Yes.
Yeah, that's so cool. A couple come to mind for me too, like our mutual friend, Kim Tolson, right? The traveling therapist is doing really cool things that are unconventional, so to speak, right? Yes. Basically taking her telehealth practice anywhere she wants to go and traveling the world and the United States. Like, that's pretty exceptional, right?
Amazing. Such a cool life.
It is so cool. What was the other? There was another one that I was thinking about. Of course, I think about Ernesto Segismundo too, buying real estate, buying properties and using them as retreat homes, and then taking groups of people to, exotic locations. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So a friend of mine who actually worked as a therapist in my practice for about a year, and we're still connected. His name's Jeremy, and he's got a wife and a young daughter, and they decided to move to Porto, Spain for a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they fell in love with this location. They spent some time in France and then also kind of just like settled in this town of Porto in Spain and just love the culture, love the people, love the food, everything. And so he actually continued to see his therapy clients in the United States from another country.
That's
which
amazing.
As far as I know is okay. But
I mean, I'm sure as long as you figure it out in advance, that's great. How
and
cool.
They kind of crafted a plan to potentially just stay there forever.
Live there. Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. And that's that unexpected stuff that when you are finally giving yourself a little bit of freedom to move maybe beyond the good and into, well, what is the great? Well, what is the next level? I love that.
I'll give you one more example. This is sort of one in development that's happening as we speak. But one of my current coaching clients, we were talking and we were looking at her calendar and trying to figure out where we could squeeze in some time for planning and like working on the business. And then we were also just thinking about what it would be like if her calendar wasn't so full and there was more room for life and, enjoying things.
Right.
And she said, I think off the cuff, that she hadn't picked up a paintbrush in 15 years, but loves painting. And I was like, okay. That's what we're doing. That's great. Let's organize your business. Let's organize your calendar so that you can be painting on a Tuesday at 1 p.m. or whatever you want. Right.
I love that.
So now I'm acting as an accountability for that. Like, okay, did you buy those supplies? Did you do the thing?
That's great. Yeah. Good for you. That's
Hopefully
great.
She listens to this and is prompted again.
She's like, Uriah.
Yeah. So that is fantastic. And I think, to me, this falls under the category of the umbrella that I love of sort of lifestyle design. And I've thought and believed for quite some time that your business should serve your life and not the other way around. So many people in corporate America or in other sort of industries, their work is their life and it chews up everything that they have. And they might have a really nice paycheck and maybe they have a nice car or whatever they have, right? But what they don't have is time, flexibility, and,
freedom,
a life.
Yeah. All that.
So I always like presenting to therapists the idea that they can kind of design things and choose what they want. And for a lot of us as therapists, that's a novel idea, right?
Right.
Isn't it? It's
Absolutely.
Like, I could do something different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it goes back to what you said in the beginning about it's all law and ethics and do everything by the books and don't change anything at all. And yet there are therapists out there who even just within the realm of their private practice are doing unique and different things. They're offering sort of more concierge services. I know somebody who serves very high level, like A-list type celebrity clientele where the degree of privacy is so different. And so they modify those services to be a concierge level service for that person where the therapist is going to travel to them wherever they want to go and where there's going to be different privacy requirements, or where they're simply saying, okay, if I'm going to work with a whole family, this is the kind of package or suite of services that's going to work better than the traditional come in here for 50 minutes every Tuesday type of service. And so there are all of these different creative out of the box ways. And often if we don't see other people doing it, it's hard to imagine it. And that's why podcasts like this one, I think, are important to open people's eyes up to that.
Are you starting or growing a group practice? If so, you should definitely check out my book, The Productive Practice. In the book, I share a simple framework for growing your group practice while working 10 hours less every week. Building a group practice is super hard work. It's easy to burn out in the process, but you shouldn't have to sacrifice your own mental health to make a bigger impact. The book is full of practical ideas on how to improve your productivity, organize your business, and delegate more effectively to your team. Also, there are some excellent bonuses I've added with the purchase. This includes an audiobook version, a special intake optimization training, and a course to help you conquer email overwhelm. Go ahead and visit productivepractice.com to grab your copy today.
I don't know if you ever peeped on a Facebook post or Instagram or wherever, and somebody asked the question, either what would you do if you weren't a therapist? Like what career or what endeavor would you go after? Or I like this question also as a thought exercise, but if you woke up tomorrow and you didn't have to make money, how would you spend your time?
Yes,
those are both very interesting. And I find that on the first question of if you weren't a therapist, what would you do? People have so many ideas. It's such a, there's a lot of comments, right? Because I don't know, that's an exciting thought exercise.
Right. And do you find that on the second question, they have just as many?
I haven't actually, to be honest, I haven't seen many posts with that. I should pose that question somewhere online. Yeah.
You should. That'd be interesting in one of the bigger groups. Yeah.
That guy I was telling you about before we hit record, Derek Sivers, is a very interesting fellow. And I could dive into his story here, but I won't. But he basically built a company and sold it for $22 million. Put that money, donated it to charity, essentially, to music education post his death. So when he dies, the 22 million goes to music education. But in the meantime, he's been living off the interest
or whatever,
of that the money in the trust, essentially. And so he has, for 10 years, had no need to make money or do anything motivated by making money. So he's been living in New Zealand and Singapore, raising his son as a single dad and writing poetry.
Wow.
For 10 years.
Wow. Talk about just following your passion. That's amazing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I wish we could all make so much money that we were just tomorrow I'm just going to, I don't know.
Yeah.
Something interesting.
Go to New Zealand.
I'm going to invent a hoverboard. I don't know, whatever.
Exactly.
But I like that idea. I think there's a lot of therapists that want to break out. That's kind of primarily what you do, right? You help therapists transition from just in the room therapy to being clinic coaches and kind of expanding what's possible.
Moving, because there's so many therapists who honestly, we make the absolute best coaches, but we also make the best course creators. We make the best retreat leaders. We make the best consultants. We just had, oh my gosh, I can tell you this just happened this morning. We literally just had a client in our program who came to we had our group meeting this morning. He just booked. He's doing a consulting package for a company. $49,000
I saw your
consulting
post on
package.
that. That's amazing.
How bananas is that? And then I found out afterwards he was actually short selling himself. It was actually a $60,000 coaching package, but when he removed his travel expenses, it came down to $49,000.
Oh my word!
But that's insane. And I like hung up from our group call, and I was thinking, therapists have no idea that that is possible, and he will be the first to tell you. It's not like he's got some sort of special sauce, special secret executive anything. We all tend to be intimidated by words like consulting or executive. The reality is we all have these basic skills of teaching communication and of teaching, family systems and how those might apply in the office space. Those types of things are such in-demand skills. And when you think of how different your life could be if basically your entire yearly income came from just one consulting package, you sell that twice, you've just doubled your yearly income. I mean, it's amazing, right? And so just knowing that that's out there for people gets me excited because I know what's available. And I have such a passion for constantly bringing wealth into the hands of the helpers. This to me is how you change the world. You redistribute wealth so that it is coming into the hands of the natural helpers, the therapists, the social workers, the caregivers, because these are the people who use it to help. And that is the great thing about it. So,
So if I was listening to this podcast 10 years ago, my version of myself 10 years ago, I'd probably be like intrigued, excited, and then like in unbelief about how do I get there? That sounds great, Katie and Uriah.
Right.
But how do you get there? So I guess the question I have for you is like, if you can think of any, what are unusual or creative ways to help therapists like expand what's possible and then take some sort of action? And what would that action be?
Yeah, I love that. So for one thing, I think people love to do the unicorn thing, right? Like it's very easy for them to look at you and be like, well, that's nice, but Uriah is a unicorn. I could never do everything he does. He's got this like cool analytic mind and he can just figure all this stuff out. And people do the same with me. Well, that's nice, but Katie, she's all bubbly and outgoing. I could never do what she does. I'm more of an introvert. And they do the unicorn thing. We look for what's different about people. And this is part of why I love having a large program that I run, because what I get to see on the back end is that absolutely anyone can do this. There is room for every therapist. There is room for the most introverted. There is room for the person who's sure that they could never succeed. There's room for everyone because I've now seen every different type of person find success at outgrowing the office and whatever that means to them, whatever different way. So I do think part of it is you actually have to first expose yourself to new ideas. And I think part of that is very often for us, you need to expose yourself to new ideas around money. We're doing, I don't know when this podcast is coming out. We're doing a live event May 11th and 12th. So it might unfortunately be over by the time this comes out. I'm not sure. But one of the workshops that I'm teaching in that live event is called Hell Yes to High Ticket, because a lot of therapists don't understand. And I didn't either. 10 years ago, oh my gosh, I was in a terrible place mentally with money. But when you move into actually expanding your consciousness around what money is, what it means, the fact that there are millions of people in the world who absolutely will not look twice at you, will not benefit from you and your services because you are lowballing your prices. And specifically, only because you are lowballing your prices. There are millions of people in the world who want the best. And they're going to look at you and you're trying to say, well, I'm only charging, $12 because I want to be able to serve everybody. And the reality is you can't serve everybody that way. And it's a price for burnout, obviously. But also there are so many people in the world where they want the best and they're going to look at your $12 and somebody else's, $8,000 coaching package. And they're going straight to that $8,000 person instead of you. And when you realize that and realize how many people in the world actually just have a very different money mindset than you do, and that it is a malleable thing. No one's money mindset is set in their genes. It's just a matter of exposing yourself to new ideas and new understanding around it that you can start to grow. And then too, like we mentioned earlier, exposing yourself to those bigger questions for you. Well, what would it look like for me to get creative around what I'm doing? If I could pick a topic to talk to people about all day long, instead of having to be a generalist, instead of having kind of the high burnout therapist path where you're really expected deep down to be an expert in absolutely everything, no matter who comes in the door, they expect you to know how to help them. What if instead of that, you picked something that you were truly passionate about, that you could truly talk about all day. And you were able to follow that path and that passion down to its ending point. How much more good do you think you'd be doing in the world? And when you stop and think of it that way, it's tremendous. And so I'm always, for people, I'm a big advocate of just honestly spending time with this, whether it's in brainstorming, in journaling, in maybe you go for walks outside and you are just listening for those little whispers of insight. One great practice that you and I talked about briefly that I've done a couple times recently that I absolutely love, get a friend and go somewhere together with the intention of masterminding your ideas together. Get a friend, and whether you go for an afternoon somewhere outside of your house, away from your normal environment, I highly recommend anything outside of your normal environment. So don't go to the Starbucks around the corner that you always go to with your friend. Go sit in the lobby of a beautiful resort somewhere in your city that just gives you a little bit of dream space because it's gorgeous there. Yeah. It'd be awesome, right? Or even better, go stay there for a night, the two of you, and really give yourselves that full time that you can be together. Because what you'll find is, and especially if you go in with intention and with, okay, here are some ideas I'm playing with. I really want you as my brainstorming buddy. Can we bounce these ideas off of each other? And you kind of go back and forth, give yourselves equal time. Maybe it's 2 hours, Uriah, we're going to talk about your stuff. 2 hours, we're going to talk about my stuff. Then we're just going to go have dinner, have a good old time. And you're going back and forth with your friend and bouncing this stuff around. You would be amazed at how many new ideas and insights and fun things can slowly develop that don't happen. I recently was with Katie Vernoy. We did a weekend like this. And she said a few times, she's like, it's amazing how this goes so much deeper. She's like, I talk about this stuff to my therapist and to my coach, but that 50-minute session, it just doesn't have the drop-in depth of really spending hours and hours together where you can kind of keep going, oh, and what about this? And what about that? And spiraling further into it. It's a really, really fun, exciting way to be growing your own ideas.
Okay, so there's the action step. If you're listening to this and you're like, I don't know what to do, do this. Get a friend. Grab a friend and plan, even if it's just one night overnight or a weekend or whatever you can eke out, even if it's just hanging out for the entire day and going to a new location. And then just freeform, open, just talk about life and business and what you want to create and what you want to dream up. I think that's a great thing to do. I did that I guess it was 6 months ago. Got an Airbnb on the Oregon coast with a friend and we just hung out for a whole weekend. And that was where I sort of created the idea of writing the Productive Practice book.
Really? And now that has come to fruition.
From that experience. So great example, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
And now I have a self-published book and a coaching program and, all kinds of cool stuff that came out of sort of a
amazing
friendly mastermind, whatever you want to call that.
Exactly. And it's informal, but it's still that mastermind vibe and energy. And
there's something about that loose, that loose structure for me at least, and for some of my friends that really works. Cause I love my business coach. Sandy's amazing. I've been working with her for literally 5 years.
Wow.
And we get a lot done, but we squeeze it into 45 minutes and I've got an agenda and there's no time for just sitting back and drinking whiskey.
Yes, right?
Or whatever.
It's true. And just that
eating
friendly,
fried cheese curds.
Yeah, exactly. Just shooting the shit, having that mixed in there, just normal life stuff.
That's where inspiration comes from so often.
Yeah. And I love it. And I think it's such a fun way to do it. And I would just say, get somebody that you really trust where that you can just open up about whatever crazy ideas are going on and that you're not going to feel like you have to censor yourself or anything like that, that you can just be like, blah, here's all this crazy stuff I've been thinking about and that you guys can just go with it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the action item. There's your homework. Schedule a work retreat, a mastermind with a friend.
And then tag us, send us a picture and tag us. I want to know these are actually happening because they're so worth it.
We're talking about lifestyle design. Have you ever done this for your business? I was thinking about how cool would it be if people tagged Productive Therapist when they were on vacation or they were doing the cool stuff that was made possible by being more productive or, whatever.
I think
that would be fun.
They need to. That'd be so good.
I guess I should just start it. I should start.
You need to. Yeah. Hashtag. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. This has been awesome. Thank you so much. I know we could go for couple more hours easily.
I know we could.
And clearly we need to schedule one of these mastermind retreats with
the Oregon
a
coast.
couple
I like
other
that.
folks. Let's do it.
Exactly. Exactly. No, that'd be great though. Honestly, it'd be great. And we should say, you and I were talking about this earlier. If you're doing one of these sort of mini minds with your friends, for me, I would say 2 to maybe 4 people at top. Because when you start getting bigger and bigger, you're not going to have that same depth of sharing, and you're not going to have the same kind of time to really drop in with somebody. So I really do think it's about like, you can pick 1, 2, maybe 3 other people, and just all really, as long as you're all going in with that same intention, doing it that way is the most productive.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah. I personally like 2 and 4 for some reason. Like when it's just me and another person, or when it's like a group of 4. I don't know. I like that dynamic.
Just works out. Yeah. That's great.
Good stuff. So this, like everything that we're talking about here, this is, I mean, you and I both help therapists with this in sort of slightly different ways.
Yep.
And I know people probably already know who you are because you're famous on the internet and all that.
And
on TikTok.
Whenever people say that, I laugh. I'm like, you have no idea. No one knows.
Katie, I used to have this shirt that I bought at a thrift store, and I wore it forever and ever. It was like bright red, and it said, I'm huge in Europe or something like that. I'm famous in Europe. I just thought that was so fun.
That's hilarious.
Like I'm very, very well known in a tiny sliver of the internet. Anyways.
Exactly.
Yeah. But like if people don't already know where they can find more about you and your cool programs, where could they go?
So they should come hang out with me at katiereed.com. And I have one of those names that's hard to get the spelling right, so I'm sure you'll drop it in the show notes, KatieRead.com. We do have a lot of free guides there. You can click the free guide tab. If you are thinking at all about outgrowing the office, we run the absolute best program to help you do it. We are the sort of most established name in the game, and we love, love, love helping therapists move up to their next level. That is what we do over there. We'd love to have you. You can follow the Clinic Coach Academy page on Instagram, or you can come hang out with me and my little passion project on Instagram as well. That is Hey Katie Reed on Instagram. And I put out a micro podcast. So every day people get a text with a little 2-minute message from me in the areas of resilience, entrepreneurship, mindset, all that good stuff. So it's just a new little passion project that we just started, totally free. It's fun.
You know what? I signed up for that and I never saw it. So I need to go back and like sign up again or figure out
we need to go figure out. That's too bad. Yeah, you should be getting the text.
I'm going to do that.
I'll go double check. I'll find your name in the system and we'll see why it didn't go through. Yeah. You got the N. You got the N. We'll get you taken care of.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Katie. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.